Hi, I'm Sandy. I'm in Vintage Stitches and I thought I'd do a video about what it is that we do because I've got the presence on Facebook at Vintage Stitches Historical Knitwear, and also on Instagram we do quite a lot, and also I've got the shop on Etsy, and all the links are down below in the information here, but they're also on both of my social media sites. But things are changing because I'm finding myself able to do less. I'm not able to go out and trade anymore. I'm relying on the online stuff, so therefore I got a YouTube, even with a little one, so you can hear her in the background. Obviously the videos will be every bit as professional as the photos have ever been. But anyway, here's a rundown of what Vintage Stitches does, and if you're interested in a commission, do contact me, but the waiting times are long now. So this has been 2016, which was my first 1940s event at Black Country Museum. And lots of things came together the same year, including my nanny passing away, who's here in the front row of this photo. And she basically taught me to knit. She'd also taught my mum to knit, obviously. And my mum was making a victory jumper from one of the 1940s patterns on the V&A website. And I saw what she was doing, found out how much she was charging, and decided it could be a business idea. So I'd worked as a business coach prior to getting divorced in 2016 as well. And so I thought it was about time I set my own business up and went for it again. And so Vintage Stitches was launched, and I did everything the technical way, doing a website and getting my mum to make another victory jumper that I could actually start the business off with. And the idea was really simple in that other people made the jumpers, because at the point in time I couldn't actually knit myself. So I could knit, but you wouldn't have wanted to buy it, let's put it that way. So anyway, the first victory jumper gets made for a customer, get proper photographs made of it, get it on the website, and started to look at trading at events. So the idea was make to order, so there's no outset costs at the beginning, and get some professional photos done, get the patterns out and take them out to some trade events, reenactment events, and trying to get ourselves a name and getting the products known. So the first event we did was in Kidderminster in 2017, and we basically started with some patterns. I was really lucky at that event to meet the Royal Warwick's reenactment group. My granddad had been in the Royal Warwick's, and they commissioned a jumper similar to the one he was wearing in the photograph, and that basically kick-started us then into the 1940s reenactment arena. I traded at some big events, Wartime in the Vale, Ironbridge 1940s, did the Festival of Vintage up in York, but especially the M5 show. I got into Torm a couple of years running, so the original reenactors market, Severn Valley Railway, did that a couple of times, and I was really getting out and about. Got ourselves well known online as well through Facebook, and lots of reenactors ordering proper reproduction knitwear. It's all hand knitted. It really sets off their outfits of whatever kind, and it got really popular. So I had a little bit of a rebrand as requests started coming in to cover World War I knitwear, and some of the Victorian Civil War type knitwear. So a little bit of a rebrand to sort of incorporate all the things, not just 1940s, but 1940s was still the main thing. So we did the professional shoot, which looked fantastic on the website, and got some really good results. At this point I still wasn't really doing the knitting, although I was doing all the embroidery, did the Swiss darning, and I was doing all the business functions as well, managing the website, doing the ordering, doing the sales. I finish everything off. The knitters never sew up. I always do that, and I sew their ends in for them as well. It's a bit of a quid pro quo arrangement. But I like to personalise things and do free form embroidery, and I can do that as a request or a bit of guidance, or sometimes I do it for stock items, and also do the odd sewing outfit, and do beading, and I can bead onto the knitwear as well. But crochet was my big thing at that point. The motifs, adding on to the knitwear, making things personal, making things a bit different, a bit unique, but all using the really traditional skills. This hat pattern here is really popular. It takes about an hour. I love making it, and it's probably one of the most authentic hats you ever see, but I never get enough time to actually make them onto the website and to the Etsy shop. So if you're seeing this and you want one of these, just let me know through messages. I take on big projects like bedspreads. I can do things from photos. That, to be honest, isn't as accurate as I'd make it now. I've learnt a lot since I made that one. This tam o' shanter, again, lots and lots of requests for this one. The tam o' shanter is from a picture from about the 1910s, 1920s, and this is from the 30s as well, so I can't always get the same tension with the threads, but I try and make it wearable. I can do modern stuff, I can do lace crochet, I can put edgings onto things, I can crochet from charts, or make charts even. I quite like making charts. Then I've started knitting. Then I've built my skills up. So knitting patterns, changing an existing knitting pattern, but putting in our own design. So this is a Mary Maxim one that was a salmon, and had a few different details, whereas the person ordering it onto koi carp instead. So with the design, I'd understood the mathematical side of knitting for a long time. It was getting my technique up to speed. So when it comes to looking at a photograph, I find that quite simple to put a pattern to that. And my mum helps me with that as well. She'll do my test knitting for me to make sure she can understand what I've written out. The idea then is, of course, a reenactor gets a proper jumper that's appropriate to the outfit that they're wearing. So handmade, and I've researched the materials available, the dyes available, the weaves on different fabrics, that kind of things. This construction of jumpers, how the construction's changed over time, so everything is done with as much detail as I can possibly fit into it. I think our first stage work came with the mousetrap in London, and I would guess that was late 2017, maybe in 2018. And from the mousetrap, we've done that mousetrap tour. We've done several different shows down there in London prior to COVID. We've also done recently The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I think that's on at the moment in the West End. We've done knitwear for people that work at museums and have ventured onto their advertising, like this one. So another mousetrap here, slightly different style. It's always the same pattern but different colours. We've done The Worst Witch, that's toured, I believe. We've done, this is a space helmet, the 1940s space helmet that we did. And gradually the Facebook presence has built to about 2,000 followers at the moment, and the same with Instagram. My problem is I'm not an Instagram worthy kind of photographer. The problem I've got is that I went from this in 2017, lively, loads of energy, could do loads, and I gradually got tireder and tireder and was in an awful lot of pain when I was moving about. And I put on a lot of weight, and I was just ill. And in the end, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2018. I was just getting my head around that when I got pregnant in 2019, and I was really, really poorly. And I ended up in bed for most of 2019. But I still kept knitting, and I made this for a pantomime just before I had her. I think that was actually in the hospital as I had her. And then she came out of hospital, and in 2020, as we all know, everything changed. So I was forced to get online. So I brought us up to date a bit more, still vintage based, still history based, but I needed to get my head around new technologies. So I started following like the TikTok trends and making some stock. I thought it was time I tried Etsy out. So I opened up the Etsy shop with the stock I'd got from the stall and managed to get rid of a lot of things. But I've also been building up my research. 1970s vintage is my passion, but I also love the proper old patterns when it basically says cast on then knit. We've had our first TV work come up, but any details on that are still under NDA, so there's nothing like that any about at the moment, but believe me, you'll find out and you'll know. This then is my favourite jumper that I have to make, and I've started making some iconic designs. So basically now I'm online, I'm trying to show that there's a lot more to us than the 1940s. I do my own designs now. These are much more modern, gender neutral, and they're still to come out. I'm hoping to sell the patterns rather than the items themselves, so there's nothing to stop me knitting them, I suppose. We can still do special requests like this one. And I'm really pleased the way the Etsy shop's going. It's a much easier way to actually sell and helps energy wise, and I couldn't have done it without my nan and my mum, really. So that's where I am now, really. You won't see me much at 40s events because I find it really too much to get out and about at the moment. I am online, but I am slow responding because I do have to come off social media more. And basically, thank you for watching that. Thank you for supporting me. Do get in touch if you've got orders. Do comment on things. And I'm still here. I'm just a lot slower than I used to be. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe, please, below. You see it? No?